Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RK Football Podcast. It is very hot outside and it is heating up in the transfer window. We've got a couple of things actually really cool to talk about. I'm Carl Dixon, joined by Matt Thorney, David Newman, and Stuart Irvine.
Hello.
I'm not going to point because you know what? Teams will do me dirty. I know that for a fact. Look, let's get straight into it. We've picked out a few things we want to talk about, so we don't want to go over like last week and make an extra episode. So let's get straight into it. We're going to start with Arsenal and potentially Spurs as well. And there's talk about another London club being involved, and probably one of the most successful London clubs of 2025, actually, Crystal Palace and Eberechi Eze. To be fair, Eze to Arsenal, Eze to Spurs. What do we think?
It's an interesting one. For me personally, I think that a move to Spurs is a better move for Eze than a move to Arsenal. I think he's a very good player. He's definitely got the qualities. I don't think he's as good as what Elise was when he was at Palace. But I think with Son looking like he's going to be leaving either this summer or next summer, Eze is going to be a good signing for him.
I kind of agree with that Spurs thing as well. I don't know what it is exactly about him, but he just seems like more of a Spurs player than Arsenal.
Not successful?
Well, they won a European trophy. I mean, Arsenal what's
success of Arsenal had recently?
Can't really say that after Tottenham's won the
European
League.
No, sorry, I'll take that back.
I will quickly say that I'm just reading up on it, and you guys may not realise this, to be fair. Eze was released by Arsenal at the age of 13, so he came through the Arsenal Academy. And I do actually think that'll have a big part to play because he's London born and bred, and he came up at a time, as in he was a child at a time where you got like the Invincibles and all that sort of stuff, and Arsenal are Arsenal. If that makes sense.
From his point of view, like that's where he'd likely want to go as opposed to Spurs.
I think so, and more than that, from a footballer's perspective right now, you've got Spurs who, yes, are in the Champions League. I'm not saying they're not, but who are more likely to go further in the Champions League right now? You would say Arsenal. Who are more likely to make a league title challenge right now? You would say Arsenal, in my opinion, anyway. So, from a footballing point of view, I can see why Arsenal would be the better move, but I do get your point of there's going to be a gap in that Tottenham side for somebody to make it their team, that they're the top guy in that team, and maybe Tottenham's the move. My first thought with this, and I think a lot of people might have had this with Arsenal, is Eze? Really?
He is a good player, like I say. He has got those qualities.
Not debating his quality. I'm just thinking, do they need him?
That's
what
I mean.
Thought process.
I always think competition is a big thing in football. Like it's a bit like, for example, Nicholas Jackson and Liam Delap at Chelsea now. Like there's going to be competition for that number 9 spot. So it's not going to be as easy for Jackson to be the guaranteed striker going forward. And I think competition at any club makes a team better and plays better. But yeah, I do agree. They don't need him.
I would say if Arsenal, but you got to look at it by the end of the transfer window. Right now, you go, they need a striker. They don't need another winger or attacking midfielder. But at the end of the transfer window, if they've signed a top class striker, and you go, they've signed Eze, they've signed Zubamendi, potentially Mark Gay here, we spoke about in last week's episode. Say they've signed those 4, you go, what a transfer window. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I do want to point out the release clause as well. Palace have been adamant they will not let him go unless clubs meet his release clause of £67.5 million, which is a fair old whack in terms of when have you seen Arsenal spend that amount of money?
Declan Rice.
Yeah, Declan Rice. 50 million, 55 million on Lacazette.
Pepe, Nicolas Pepe.
Let me explain my point. Sorry.
When
have you seen them spend that much amount of money and then go on and sign a top striker? This feels like the money they play for a top striker, is what I'm saying. I can't see Arsenal spending 70 million on Eze and then 70 million on Benjamin Sesko.
Especially when is it Gyökeres? His release clause was
Yeah.
like 70 million, and no one stumped up the money. Be it 3 million less you're willing to spend if they did on Eze. And so really, yeah. So I get that's a fair point. Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be a great move for Arsenal or Spurs, but for Arsenal right now, the priority needs to be a striker, not Eze. And if that's the money for Eze and they don't sign a striker, every Arsenal fan will be asking questions.
I think they will sign a striker by the end of the window. I mean, they simply have to, and I think they will. But there's nothing wrong with strengthening other parts of the field in the meantime if they're still trying to, reach that aim of actually getting the striker whenever that comes.
Well, here's a question for all of you: does Eze start over Martinelli? Because that's where he'd be playing.
That's a tough one.
Am I right?
Yeah.
I think it depends on who the opposition is, because if the opposition have got a high line, for example, they played against Villa. Villa play with a very high line. Martinelli's your guy, the pacing behind, etc., etc. But if they're playing against a Burnley where they've got to sit in and break someone down, it's about your first touch, it's about vision, it's about control, it's about movement. Give me Eze. So arguably, competition for places, etc. It makes sense. I can see it. If Arsenal are going, I'm going to go and spend £250 million this summer and make us title winners.
Depends as well what Eze is after. I mean, in terms of whether he wants to go to Arsenal or Spurs, like, does he want to go into Arsenal and potentially try to fight for his place, or does he just want to walk into another starting 11 and be the main man? Like, if the latter's the case, then Spurs would probably be his better choice.
Yeah. What do you think, Stu?
I've got to be honest. I'm quite surprised that, like, if I choose between Tottenham and Arsenal, it's like you would go to Arsenal, would you? And obviously they do need to kind of because obviously last season kind of proved that they kind of have they've obviously the whole forward line is kind of like not diverse enough with anyone that's a different kind of style of play. So it makes sense that obviously with Eze that'd be a different kind of play that they can maybe put on. That maybe might be like when they said that unlock. When they're struggling against like a team like Burnley or something, they can put him on that can do something. So yes, they need a striker, but again, it's like I think it is a problem. They do need to upgrade or just improve a little bit on that. I think was it left hand side. So I would personally go to Arsenal, but yeah, I think he should. I think he would. I think he would start more probably because of maybe in Premier League games, maybe. But yeah, I would. I think he should go to Arsenal personally.
I think we should make note, though, as well, that this next season is a World Cup season, and Eberechi Eze will be desperate to be starting left winger for England when they go over to America next summer for the World Cup.
Who is our starting left winger at the minute?
That's what I'm saying. It's up for grabs, isn't it? There's a few
So,
options.
yeah, there's
Gordon,
not a huge competition for that spot.
It's not like a solid start.
He doesn't have to he doesn't have to like pull up trees or do
no,
anything.
but he has
to
have
play.
An
amazing scene. He has to play, of course, and he would do that anyway if he stayed at Palace. But yeah, he doesn't have to really.
When you're talking about Arsenal or Spurs, though, his playing chances are better at Spurs.
Yeah, of course.
You would think, and that's what I'm saying. You have to take that into account as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it'd be really interesting to see where he goes. But I will say, if he is a true Arsenal fan and come through the academy, it's going to be really hard to choose Spurs over Arsenal.
Yeah,
you don't reckon there might be a thing like a spiteful thing, like Arsenal booted me out.
Maybe.
Well, they can do one. I'll go to Spurs instead.
I think that for him, I think you've got to think about, like Carl said there, you've got to think World Cup next year. You want to be getting the game time. I actually totally agree with that. And with that in mind, I still would go with Spurs. I would because Martinelli, he hasn't been fantastic the last maybe year or so, but he still offers enough for Arsenal that he is that player that starts there for me. But yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll say it. It is really interesting that this summer in particular is the summer that everyone's making moves dependent on where they're going to play, how much they're going to play, because they want to be in World Cup squads. We've mentioned about Rashford before. We've mentioned about Jack Grealish. Eze's in that same boat where he wants to be England's top number 10 or number 7 or whatever you want to call him on that left wing number. Used to be in 11, but it's not anymore. So yeah. Be very interesting to see where he goes. He's going to go for big money, though. We know that with the release clause. Speaking of big money, Cristiano Ronaldo is set to earn £488,000 a day at Al Nassr.
Is that 400 million
that's
a year? It's 400
I
million
mean,
a year. Is the
it's a joke, isn't it? Let's be honest.
He owns now, I believe it's 33% of the football club as well, and like it's insane.
Do you reckon it's getting to a point now?
They
I mean,
offered
it
him that?
seems to be like you see with these kind of bumper contracts now. You know, with bigger players when they get contract renewals and stuff. The first thing we always hear about is the money, like how much they're going to be earning, and there's always kind of a breakdown. Oh, he's going to be earning this much a minute, this much a second. Oh, isn't that interesting? Do you not think it's getting to the point now where football fans are getting a little bit sick of seeing that constantly? Not to say that it's like that overly depressing or anything, but I mean, you look at it and you go, bloody hell! I mean, that's just a ridiculous amount of money. Do you reckon there is something to be said for maybe keeping quiet or kind of not disclosing the salaries of players when they come into it? It seems to be the first thing I
think it's too late now.
Is released. It's like, do we need to know about this all the time? You know?
Yeah, but do you think this is Ronaldo releasing it? Because I don't. I think it's
I think it's
Al
everyone,
Nassr.
isn't it? It's
Al
everyone.
Nassr.
But you got to think from Al Nassr's point of view. They put that out there. They're a team in a league trying to grow, and all of a sudden, I don't know, a top player in England. Let's just throw a name out there. Someone like Martin Odegaard, for example, at Arsenal. Jack Grealish, good idea, right? Jack Grealish goes, that's a lot of money, isn't it? I wonder what they'd pay me.
Yeah,
and that's why
no
they
secret
do it.
that they're paying everyone through the nose out there, you know. But
it's no secret. But then you also see
we hear about it all. It's so ubiquitous now. This kind of how much players are earning and these huge new contracts. It's like Jesus Christ.
I remember years ago. It was an interview that Harry Redknapp did, and he signed a striker. I can't remember for what team. I think it was Portsmouth. He signed a striker, and they were going through the contract negotiations. And in there, the striker said he wanted a goal bonus, and he was like, "What do you think I'm paying you for?"
Oh,
and it was like,
Kubu, isn't it?
You're getting paid to score goals. Why do you need a bonus?
That Harry Redknapp, definitely Harry Redknapp.
Yeah, Harry Redknapp.
It's like Kubu. It's like
it might have been. It was off
by like one goal or something. I think I heard that story. Where he's off by one goal, you didn't get the bonus.
Jesus Christ.
That's it. But
I will say Ronaldo is absolutely stat padding for the most money he's ever been paid in his career, by the way. 93 goals and 105 appearances for Al Nassr. He is stat padding, right? So do you know when you're playing FIFA or EAFC or whatever, and you're like, you know what, I'm not bothered about playing these really hard opponents. Let me stick it on amateur for a bit, bang a load of goals in, have a good time. That's what Ronaldo's doing at Al Nassr, and I kind of respect it.
No wonder he's still playing past 40 years old. If he's going to be earning that kind of money, he'll play till he's bloody 60. You know?
But it's Al Nassr in the Saudi Arabian league. He could play till he's 60 and still be the best player.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, the one thing I do think though, and it's something that I heard the other day, and I actually think this is spot on really with how football has now become. And that is that with these sort of wages going out there, Man City paying the wages they do, PSG, Chelsea paying the wages they do, that football is now getting to a point where it's we're having to have this many games so that clubs can afford these type of wages as well. Because when you think about the Club World Cup, do you not think that this is, in a way, when you think about it more and more, it's the players' fault that this Club World Cup has ended up the way it has?
It all feeds into each other. It all feeds into one another, doesn't it? Like the club pay the player this amount of money because you're contracted to play this many games for the club and this many tournaments, and we need that money from the tournaments in order to pay you. So it's a cyclical thing,
And this is it. Like the say, like Messi, probably he's earning an arm and a leg, but to be able to afford those wages and justify it, it's like, well, we need more revenue, which requires more matches, which then leads on to something like the Club World Cup.
So what you're saying is the players are being punished physically for getting the most amount of money they can out of a deal.
I personally no, but I think this is how clubs are now affording.
To pay
a lot of players the amount of games now.
Exactly, and a lot of players like Van Dijk, I think last season, came out and kind of like publicly kind of stated like, look, we're playing way too many games. There needs to be a little bit more player welfare here. We are being driven into the ground here. Granted, you know, you can look. There's always that counter argument. It's like, well, look, Virgil, you earn, however much it is, 300 grand a week, whatever it is, shut up and do your job. I mean, 99% of the world, no one, you're in such a privileged position to shut up and do your job. But more and more players are coming out now and saying this is too much. I think with the World Cup next season as well, would this be 3 summers in a row where there will have been a tournament? So the World Cup, the Euros, the Club World Cup this year, and then the World Cup next year. That's 3 summers in a row where they're just going to be constant. I mean, probably 70, 80, 90 games a year,
Someone's going to collapse at some point. Like, it's going to be, it's like, literally, it's going to be like, I think all those years ago, I think some guy, like, during the old Confederation Cup, I think, like, he just, like, collapsed because of, like, heart condition. But, like, it would not surprise me if you have one in this game or in the World Cup, someone's just going to
just collapse.
I mean, more than that.
It's too much games.
It's fitness on the legs, on the muscles as well. Like, compared to how it used to be 20, 25 years ago, like, you used to have some top players that just never got injured, never had knocks. They were fine, managed to play through. There's not a top player out there now that sort of player that never gets injured, never gets knocked.
And the problem is, it's because of the amount of games. The amount of games. It's ridiculous. Like Thierry Henry, in his prime, never had to play that many.
The intensity and all that is higher now, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that the facilities are out there now to try and keep them in tip-top condition, and if you have the right people in the club, you can do your best for that. But there is a line. There is a line as to everyone can do it for.
And to play devil's advocate on the wages, like you mentioned about there is a line and all this sort of stuff, a player's career can be very, very short. If they get one bad injury, one bad tear, that's it. And that's the money. That's all they've earned now. I mean, one of the most famous ones for Villa was Savo Milosevic, who was going to be genuinely one of the best players in the world. He'd gone on to play for a Juventus, a Barcelona or something like that. And he got a really bad injury. And that's it. At 25 years of age, his career was over.
I think a lot of fans try not to think about the money. I think a lot of fans like to think that all professional players play for primarily, chiefly the love of the sport. The love of the game. But that's what I'm saying. That's just simply not the case. Like you said, players want to get paid as much as they possibly can because a football career, if you're lucky, is about 10 years, 10, 12 years. At a high level. Do you not think, Kyle, that 10, 12 years?
Yeah, I agree. Football is a job. It is a business, and just like
so you
any
want to get
other
paid
job
as much
in the
as you
world,
can in as little space as possible, in a little time as possible. Absolutely.
I couldn't tell you anyone in the world that does their job for the love of the job. They do it to get paid.
Well, there are people like that.
People that love the job,
as opposed
I'm not
to
saying they don't.
live to work. But
and I'm sure there are a lot of footballers that love football still, but they're doing it for the work. They're doing it to provide for their children and their children and all that sort of stuff. So that has to go.
If any of our employees are listening, we like our jobs, okay? Just
a raise wouldn't go amiss, though, if you wouldn't mind.
If my employer is missing, I would like more money. Yeah, we'll go with that. If you want to pay me Cristiano Ronaldo's wages, that sounds fantastic.
I will be his gardener. That is my threat. I will be his gardener.
Hey,
that would be funny.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
That'd be funny. Like, when you go for like a job interview and they kind of say what your salary expectations. Imagine you did it like the Ronaldo thing. You go like, I'm looking to earn maybe like around a tenner, maybe like €1.50 every second, something like that. I think it would be nice enough.
I'm going in with my agent. That's what I'm doing. I'm sitting down. And my agent's please don't talk to my client. You'll direct your questions through me, please.
Like it'd be like this, wouldn't it? It'd be like. So our minimum wage is this. Oh, is that per second? No, per hour.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to earn a year. A year? Sorry.
And how does that break down in terms of seconds?
I mean, look, Ronaldo better go into coaching when he's done, because after that, his weekly wage is not going to feel the same.
He'll be able to pay the coaches. He'll be able to pay the coaches, won't he?
Yeah.
Like,
he'll buy the world one day.
What is his weekly wage now? So is it 400 million a year, or is it over 2 years? I can't remember. But
so
what is it?
Hang on, let's get the calculator out. Hang on.
I saw the breakdown. I mean, I said at the top of this.
At what point in time do I earn more than Ronaldo? Okay, that's what I want to know.
You could either be an arms dealer or like I don't know.
Just win the lottery.
Win the lottery. Yeah.
I think even then I've not got enough.
Even if you won the lotto, like 10 million.
Just wait until the rollover. Wait until the
Ronaldo's
rollover.
got that at the back of his couch. Like.
Do you want to hear it?
Go
This
on,
new
on.
deal
Go
he's
on,
going to
go on.
earn just over 3.4 million a week.
3.4 a week. Okay, so that's Jesus Christ, that's a lot.
I'm sorry. I'm sitting here doing a podcast in the non-stop heat without a fan, and he's on £3 million a week.
I had to put me bins out earlier on. That was a pain in the arse. Do you reckon there is like do you reckon there is going to be at some point where do you think the salary amounts can go? When do you think, like, how high can they get, do you think? And will it be the Saudis who will kind of constantly break their own records, or where does this end?
At some point, FIFA will have to take.
They have to, surely.
What will happen is, at the moment, FIFA are obviously involved in all these deals, and they're getting something out of it, right? Because they're allowing it to happen. They've allowed it to happen for 25 years. At some point, they will be cut out of these deals. That's the way business works, right? Mm-hmm. Some point they will be cut out, and then they'll have to make some sort of ruling. We're on the subject of finance. Let's talk about this whole PSR stuff. Today, as we're recording this, Villa have got around their PSR issues in the same way Chelsea did earlier in the season. I don't know if you guys spoke about it on a podcast. I wasn't there, but what they've done is sold their women's team from the Aston Villa holding to the parent club holding of the owner of Aston Villa. Wow. So he sold the women's team to himself, basically, to balance the books. And there's a real problem with PSR. And I know this is off topic what we want to talk about, but we're here now. There is a real problem with PSR because it was brought in as an idea of we're going to manage the money. People are not going to spend stupid amounts anymore, and it's going to be fairer to everybody, right?
Yeah, clubs are
how has that happened? It hasn't happened once. All it is this. Let me explain the PSR rules right now, right? What it is whoever earned the most money can spend the most money, right? But they haven't clarified how you can earn money. So you can earn money by selling your women's team, sure. But basically, whoever makes the most money off sponsorship deals and merchandise deals rules the roost. Now, those clubs are obviously going to be Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, maybe Spurs if you want to throw it in there, Man City. Yeah, obviously. So how is that fair to a Palace, to an Everton, to a West Ham, or anybody like that? It's not possible because you just don't have the same reach. So it's like the top clubs are going to continuously grow to be bigger and bigger and be allowed to be bigger and bigger, and then benefit from it. What do you know what I mean? The bigger clubs will get bigger and the smaller clubs will get smaller.
Yeah, it is a fair point, and it is something that is certainly to be concerned about, possibly in the longer run. But maybe even does money always translate to trophies? I mean, you look at last season, Newcastle and Palace won trophies, and Arsenal and Chelsea and City didn't.
Yeah, but that's one season.
Whoa. Conference League is a trophy.
Yeah, now it is.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
But I will say,
I forgot about the
don't throw us in the same bracket as Arsenal. I
will strike Chelsea from the list. Apologies. But my point still stands.
That is one season, though, right? To be fair, that is one season. You have to look at it over a 6-season gap. Leicester are the best example of this, right? Yeah. Leicester did it. They won the league title. They beat the odds. They beat the big boys. They did it. 5 years later, they were relegated.
Yeah, I do get your argument. The importance, I think, of not just getting into the European places is so important, but like doing it as a one-off, you don't really benefit from it. Getting in there on a regular basis is when you proper benefit. Like Newcastle, I stand by my statement I said a while back. I think Newcastle in the next 5 years will be title challengers in this country, as long as they sustain for the next couple of seasons a place in the Champions League. They have to do that to be able to do it. And that's how important it is.
Here's my fix for PSR, and it's really simple, and it's what it should have been at the start. You can only spend what you make in the transfer world. But well, not even spend what you make. There should be a certain percentage you can spend slightly over what you make on a transfer. So if you want to spend 150 million in the summer, you need to sell 70 million pounds worth of players, for example.
Yeah.
And what we'll then see is the top players going, oh well, PSG think Desiree Doué is worth 300 million pound, but no club wants to pay that. No club has the capacity to pay that, and things will start going down again, because it will all of a sudden bunch the teams up a bit more, make things more competitive, and I think that's better for the game, because nobody wants to see the same. I mean, look at the last 2 seasons in the Premier League. Liverpool last season, Man City the season before. Let's be fair, we're the best team in the country by some distance, and there wasn't much of a challenge. Maybe Arsenal to City a little bit, but there wasn't much of a challenge. That's sad. There should be 5 or 6 teams all challenging, all around the same level, all trying to be the best, and it's just not possible.
But you could say that about any league in the world, especially the top 5 leagues in Europe. It's not really like
But
that. Maybe Italy
I think what Carl's saying there is like teams like PSG and Man City won't be able to run away with it as easy because they won't have the finances to run away with it as easy.
It's a sport problem, for the record, not just England. It's a sport problem.
Yeah.
The only team in the world I actually think that if what you say happened and it wouldn't affect them too much is Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich they feed off of, like, they're so good at their scouting network. They have been for years, and they never had to spend an arm and a leg to get this player, that player. Harry Kane was probably last time they spent an insane amount of money, and that's it. Like, they don't do it that often. Whereas PSG, Man City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, they've had to do that over the years, like, to sustain it. So
I mean, it doesn't help, and this is the last bit I'll say, Link, so I could go a full podcast on this, but it doesn't help that the people making the decisions about it are the top clubs. So what are they going to do? They're going to protect their own interest, aren't they? Let's be fair. So that's a severe problem, isn't it? When if the Premier League was to bring a rule in, 14 clubs have got to agree. Yeah. Well, sorry, 8 of those have got the same agenda. 6 of those probably. So it's a problem.
Yeah, like the biggest thing, like it is going to be trying to get those teams to agree, and at some point, you hope it does happen. When is like that's when it is. That's what it is. When
it's also where there's a massive gap between a top division and a second division, not just in England but across the world. Same in Spain, same in France, same in Germany. You see the same teams coming up and down because there's a bigger and bigger gap growing because of the money that's allowed to be spent. I mean, the fact that Leicester have gone down and are now dealing with a charge from the Football League from before. Do you know what I mean? It's a complete mess, and something has to change.
I saw a thing a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a few, maybe a month ago, that the city charges that there might be a conclusion might be reached soon enough, but then that kind of died away again. Has there been anything else, any sign of when that might come to a?
No, they'll get away with it. They'll get away with it.
I am dying.
There is not a chance in this world that City get in trouble for it. There's not a chance in this world.
If they get in trouble for it and they get charged for all of them, there'll be obviously big consequences to come their way. If that happens, I promise you, I'll wear a Man United top on the podcast after that.
Oh, you didn't just say that.
You really think that they'll get off scot-free?
No.
Do you know why?
They'll get charged as much as what everyone thinks they would.
I don't think the Premier League can afford them to get in trouble, because it opens up this Pandora's box, and everyone looks back at different stuff now, and you go, "Oh, well, hang on a minute. What about that? What about this? What about that?"
Are you suggesting that somehow the Premier League will somehow facilitate City getting 100%. Away with it, for want of a better phrase? But
this is my best example I can give you. Do you remember Juventus in Serie A all those years ago, and all those scandals with match fixing and everything like this? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, everyone looked at Serie A as a very different league. All of a sudden, they were like, "Oh, this is a bit dodgy." And there were a couple of other clubs involved as well. If that happens to Man City, the respect our league will have will drop drastically, and players won't want to come.
Do you also think the Premier League want their most financially lucrative club right now to lead the league? The eyes that Man City bring, the money that they bring on sponsorship deals, the players that they bring to the league, and all that sort of stuff.
No, they won't want that to happen, obviously. But I mean, if they're guilty, they're guilty. What can they do about it? And Liverpool won the league last season, not City.
Yeah. Money talks, though, innit? That's the problem. But
that's quite right.
That's the problem overall. We've got way off topic. What we were going to talk about was these new US-style innovations coming to Sky Sports next season. For anybody who has Sky Sports subscription, what do we think? So, camera operators are allowed to be on the pitch for celebrations, which I feel like they were anyway, if I'm totally honest.
I thought they were,
Key ones, TV cameras will be able to enter the changing rooms.
I like that. I think that's quite cool.
I mean, yes
and
no, but I hope...
Is that like in the lead up to the match, or is that like at half time, or what is that? I wonder.
I'd imagine...
Is it, will I get to see Jack Grealish coming out from the toilets, pulling up his,
this is the thing.
Oh, God, sorry.
Yeah. What would they think we'll learn? Like, it's like, I find it strange that after the match, maybe, because obviously you can sit there and see like what this is and the players, but so obviously you've seen it with like documentaries and stuff. But yeah, half time, or like what you just hear them talk about what the tactics are that you can probably figure out, that most pundits can figure out in like 10 minutes anyway. So what do you really learn from it? I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea.
The thing that fascinates me is they're going to be interviewing people at halftime or interviewing people who've been subbed. I don't see what purpose.
Is this like a charity match? That's what they do in charity matches. Every time they come off, like they are.
I'm not a huge fan. Are you guys ready for example, Ollie Watkins has been given a 3-match ban after appearing nude in the blah 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 where he's walked out the shower. Do you know what I mean? You ready for it?
Or someone says something that like
who's like a big hothead in the league.
Yeah.
Like imagine him getting a red card, just sticking a mic in his face. Like, what do you think about that?
Oh, was it Kuna?
Oh God, he's gonna attack a cameraman. He will.
Yeah, Jeff Shreve. What do you think about that? He just drop kicked him in the face.
I don't like the idea of the interviewing the subs. Like honestly, I just think half of it is just gonna be utterly pointless because it'll get the player into trouble more than anything else.
And what would
what's
you
going to
ask
happen because it'll come off and it's like, oh, why do you think the sub was made? It was tactical.
Yeah, and they're invariably gonna. Why do you think you got sent off, or do you think that was fair? That just gives them an opportunity to start to say something possibly defamatory about the referee, and then they get in trouble.
I mean, or the manager.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So what's you will just see players playing it safe. So it'll be. What did you think about that red card? I haven't seen it back yet.
Oh yeah, no comment.
Even though I committed the foul, even though I'm the one that stuck my studs right.
But they wouldn't interview them. They wouldn't be allowed to interview them. It'll be no. You can interview Scott Carson on the bench, for example. It'll be.
Okay, what would they ask? What would they ask them on the sub bench?
Jesus Christ.
Like, what would you ask them?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you going to learn?
Like a substitution. So, how do you think the match is going? Well, 4-0 down. I don't think it's going so well. It's like what? After the match, it makes sense. Before the match, it makes sense. But like in the middle, like nah.
No, it's useless. Going down the line of the subs, like tell us what you think about the match. Like, get lost.
What was was on the pit. They done it with some of the Club World Cup matches, and they. I was watching the one the other day. When we played, who did we play? Benfica, and they interviewed Marc Cucurella at half time, and I was like, why? Why are we interviewing him? And he was like, what do you think do better in the second half? And I was like, why don't we just see what he does better in the second half and then interview at the end of the game? Yeah. Like,
I do like this idea. Sorry, I do like this idea that Cucurella will be doing an interview and they'll be like, so what do you think needs to be done differently in the second half? I don't know. I've missed the team talk. They're attacking now. I'm out here doing this interview.
You called me out here. I don't know. I might be subbed off.
Well, I really don't see the problem. I mean, it's you can kind of see what they're trying to do. Just got to get more involvement with the, sort of with the fans, especially on TV. More involvement, more this, that. But you think what's the one thing that the fans for the last couple of years have been crying out for is more more sort of vocalizations, if you like, from the referee. Why don't they interview the referee at the end of the match? That would be far more interesting than interviewing bloody players at half time.
Haven't they been like kind of teasing like Mike? I think in the Club World Cup they've been was it micing up the refs like doing European stuff, and obviously the cameras, like the camera stuff.
Yeah,
I mean to be fair, some of the images I've seen are quite hilarious. Like I said, I think I saw like Harry was it Harry Kane? It's just like it looks really weird when you see it for a body cam.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange.
Isn't it? It's like people have always been fans for years now have been saying we want to hear what the ref thinks about a particular challenge or whatever decision they made. Why don't they just bring in a thing where they interview the ref at the end of the game? You might not learn a lot. They might keep a lot of stuff to their chest, keep the cards close to their chest, depending on how severe the decision was. But it'd still be more interesting, and you might get some nugget of information rather than.
I think we know why, though. I will say, I think we know why that, because, I mean, even last season, a referee makes a bad call, doesn't send a player off. 2 days later, he gets death threats in his post.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but if you give them 5 minutes,
no, it wouldn't. It would just fuel them. So he comes out, right? He goes, "I've had a look back. Yeah, I made the wrong call. Apologise." That's what.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, but you got to agree that would be potentially more interesting, and you'd learn a bit more, perhaps, about a decision or about the match itself, rather than listening to inane, bloody, innocuous questions given to players that have to, who cares?
75% of football fans would appreciate it. I agree, but that 25% are so dangerous, and that's
Can I just posit that the people who write death threats to referees are probably the same people who comment on our TikTok videos? They're probably the same people.
Oh, Lord. Wow. Right. Yeah. Anyway, what I was going to say was, the thing with Cucurella and the halftime interviews. Like, and forgive me if I'm wrong in thinking this. Do you remember when we was in school and you'd be sitting in class, I don't know, maths, science, English, whatever it might have been, and you'd sit in class and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door and it was one of the other teachers and they'd go, "Hello, Mrs. Jones," and they go, "Hello, Mrs. Jones. Am I able to borrow one outside quickly?" That's what these halftime interviews remind me of. It's like, "Oh, you done with your halftime team talk. I just want to borrow Mark Cucurella, do a quick interview." Like, it's silly.
That was the most bizarre comparison I've ever heard.
No, it is.
You got away with words.
I'll give it to you.
He's a metaphor machine.
Oh dear. By the way, Stu, definitely clip that. That needs to go on TikTok.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely
Thank you.
Wait, hang on. Which bit are we talking about here?
David calling out the head.
I mean, that one's just going to get more clicks and more hits.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hashtag TalkSport. Right. Let's move on to the England under-21s, who we can celebrate as European champions for the second straight tournament. A lot of positives from this. And obviously, we want to have a little debate in a little bit about the progression of how that success goes to the senior team. But just to say, to win back-to-back championships like this is incredible. Even at this level, it is such an incredible achievement. You think of Spain did it at senior level, right? And it was just one of the best Spanish teams of all times. And I totally get this is under 21 level, but it is such an achievement. Lee Carsley, as you say, incredible. I don't think anybody saw it coming this summer in a way. I think, yes, they were champions before and we're always going to be there or thereabout. But for me, I was like, look, they won it last time. They're not winning it this time. They'll get to the semis or they'll get to the final. But to actually get the job done, it's one of the best. It's one of the best achievements English football's had. I'll be honest.
Yeah, right up there with the
World Cup '66, and then.
The women's Euro win,
women's Euros, yes, and then you're looking at this. You're looking at under-19 World Cups, which is quite sad for English football. But hey ho. Yes, Matt, you wanted to talk about the how this turns into potential success for the senior team, and I want to point out the word you used off camera, right? You know what? You do it. You speak.
I don't know if I'm going to use the same wording. So forgive me if I don't, Kyle. But basically, what I find interesting is that obviously we don't know what's going to happen with this under-21s team yet. We'll see in the future. Fingers crossed, these players go on to do great things. But when you look at certain players from the last time we won, was it the World Cup? No, it was the Euros last time, wasn't it? Like we won
The under
under 20.
21s only play the Euros. There's not an under 21 World Cup.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, so we won the Euros before, and that team, when they go make that step up to the first team, it does look like what seems to happen is the natural ability, would you say, that exciting way they play all of a sudden just drops. All of a sudden. And one example I would give you, Phil Foden.
Right.
He is not the player.
I mean, Phil Foden was not in that under 21s final.
He wasn't, but he was a young player who was at the under 17s World Cup.
Yeah, he came through the academy.
Yeah.
Let me talk through that under 21 team before you talk yourself down a rabbit hole, right? Because there are some key players on there. James Trafford in goal. It looks like Joe Garner played right back, which is interesting. Taylor Harwood-Bellis and Levi Colwill centre backs. Max Aaron's left back. Emile Smith-Rowe left wing. Curtis Jones centre mid. Angel Gomez centre mid. Cole Palmer right wing.
Best player in the world, mate.
Morgan Gibbs-White. Anthony Gordon. So here's the thing. Maybe more of them should have done, for sure. But 3 of those, was Colwell involved? Let's say 2 to be safe. Gordon and Palmer were involved then a year later in the England squad that got to the Euros final. So arguably that is, and Palmer was very influential. Do you know what I mean, with the performance that he had. So arguably it is doing the job. But I do get your point that has it transcended to the same success? No. But is that because the system's not working? No, because we've got to 2 finals with these young players that have come through the system and won things. We've got to 2 European finals. We've got to 2 World Cup semi-finals, I want to say. No,
it was 1 and then 1 quarter-final.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? You've got to winning positions. We just haven't got over the line, and I don't think that's the system. Could have some will say it's the manager that was in charge, etc., etc.
Yeah,
we can go into that.
And it's the World Cup as well. Like you talk about that kind of drop off and what happens to some of these players when they go from under 21 level to sort of a senior national level. There's not a simple explanation for it. It's just the views and kind of the sort of press and everything like that around something like the Euros tournament is there's a chasm of difference in sort of viewership and pressure and all that kind of stuff with the under 21s Euros and the senior Euros.
True.
Is that you take that step up and there's naturally going to be a little bit of pressure applied to it, and not everyone can thrive.
I was going to say, just looking at that squad, the success they're actually having in club football is pretty big as well. I mean, James Trafford's subject apparently of a pretty big bid from Newcastle. Newcastle won James Trafford. Garner's certainly made an impact at Premier League level with Everton. Taylor Harwood-Bellis was at Saints this year, but was one of the players that at least people do rate, and looks like he'll be back in the Premier League this year with a few clubs around him. Colwell's been very good for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Max Aaron's is arguably the one on the list you go, not sure, but actually he's playing for Valencia, had a loan at Rangers last year. Cole Palmer, enough said.
Smith-Rowe doing well at Fulham.
For Smith-Rowe, done well at Fulham. Curtis Jones has done well at Liverpool for a number of years. Angel Gomez was brilliant in France, and I think he's on his way back to the Premier League. Morgan Gibbs-White had his best year, and Anthony Gordon had his best year. So I don't know. I think you could argue that it's later in the squad that some of them fall away. But even looking at some of the bench, I mean, Harvey Elliott was part of that team, and then obviously had a brilliant year, brilliant summer this summer. But Noni Madueke as well was part of that team. Jared Branthwaite was part of that team.
What I'm trying to get the big point across here is that for like the team we lost the Euros to last year? The team we lost the Euros to last year was Spain, and that team was a lot of youngsters in there, like Nico Williams, Yamal. Like there's a lot of youngsters in there, all that went through the same thing as this England squad did in some ways. Obviously not as successful, but they play in a very similar way, and it worked because then they're winning the trophies. But the difference between how Lee Carsley plays is totally different to how they're playing at the international level. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel's only just come in, but like Gareth Southgate, for example, it's so different that they're then having to change everything up.
I mean, I actually think it was more similar than you think under Gareth Southgate. If we're talking about a whole experience for qualifying and all that sort of stuff, they probably were quite similar. But when it got to the key moments, the key knockout moments in World Cups where you need to pull a trigger, you need to take a risk, that's something Southgate wasn't good at, which Carsley has done well at under 21 level with, and that's the difference. I'm not saying for a second Carsley would have been a great England manager though, because it's a totally different kettle of fish.
Why hang on, this what annoys me. Why though?
I think there's a number of reasons you could go into, but I think a big part of this, and this is what we saw during his games in charge, is a respect thing. Okay. And this is gonna annoy people, but I'll say it anyway. Lee Carsley's career, right? And I'm gonna double check just to be sure. But Lee Carsley's footballing career, he's best known for playing for Birmingham City in the Premier League.
Did he play for Everton?
Yeah.
Yes, he played for Everton. I mean, you could say Everton. You could say Everton, but fine. Yeah, all right. He played at Everton longer, but yeah. So I'll give you that. Say Everton, right? but my point is, and I think Southgate in a way had a similar issue, but won them over in the end. I think there are certain players out there, and I think Jude Bellingham might potentially be one of them, or heading that way, who are playing at the very, very top, and are thinking, what's Lee Carsley got to teach me?
Oh,
that's my concern.
You're not a manager. That's
my concern, and I think there is definitely outliers to that. I mean, we spoke on our special episode last week about some managers who weren't good players. I get that, and there are definitely outliers to that. But I think there is a reason that Lee Carsley clearly motivates these young players who are trying to play well for him.
Yeah.
But at senior level, it didn't feel the same.
The biggest example I can give of a manager who was not brilliant as a player, but was fantastic as a manager.
Mourinho?
Two straight away. Okay, so three: Mourinho, Alex Ferguson, and Brian Clough,
and Jurgen Klopp.
Like,
but yes.
Hello, like you don't need a good playing career.
No, I agree. But
annoys me with that.
I also think to myself, look, if you don't think the English FA wanted to give Carsley the job, I don't know what to tell you, because that's how the system was supposed to work. It worked with Southgate.
Yeah,
Southgate was under 21 manager, came up. Carsley was supposed to come up, but for some reason they felt it weren't the right fit. And I can tell you now, right? 2 years ago, if you'd have told the FA, you're not going to give Carsley the job, you're going to give it to a German called Thomas Tuchel, they'd have gone, no way. Do you know what I mean? So it was the last thing they wanted to do, and I think whatever that reason is, I don't know. I think potentially he could have done a good job, but
the crop of players they've got now, they know that they can be successful, and they wanted to bring someone in who has been successful, and that is Tuchel. In some ways,
should have won a tournament with Southgate. Really should have, with the players that were there.
We were just unfortunate. We were very unfortunate.
Yeah, and like Kyle said, just the Southgate's inability to kind of pull that trigger. When I think the big one was against Italy in the Euros final. I think England were 1-0 up. But Italy were sort of coming back into the game, and Southgate just didn't make any alterations whatsoever. And Italy got back into it.
Chiellini.
That Italy game more than ever at Wembley, right? A home tournament. And I'll be honest, and I'm not being this disrespectful, against a not amazing Italy
team. Not
team.
Brilliant.
They were pretty average, to be honest. Yeah. They'd looked their way into the final and came up against an England team who bottled it, if we're really honest. Yeah. But that's a conversation for a different time. Be interested to see what happens with the England job. I will say this: Tuchel's short deal feels like waiting for Eddie Howe, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think that's a good shout. Yeah.
Okay, let's end quickly, because we're going slightly over, but let's end quickly on this Palace Lyon stuff, particularly Lyon, who have been at the moment relegated to the second division in France due to financial troubles. it's sad to see a team like Lyon. I mean, I think back to the Euro goals era on Eurosport when you got Juninho banging in free kicks, and it's a bit sad to see Lyon.
Well, you got to think some of the players that played for Lyon. Obviously, you had Lloris, who played from one point. Benzema was there as well. He started out there. Lacazette.
Lacazette
went from there to Arsenal.
He was there as well.
Gregory Coupe, Sidney Govou,
and Titi,
Tagliafico, Kim Karlstrom. I'm looking now.
It's insane. Some of the players,
legend that was Jordan Veretout. SEM played for them as well.
Yes, we bought him from there. Yeah, I can't remember how much we paid, but I remember. He came from there. There's so many that have played for Lyon, and they were the biggest club in France before PSG had all the money.
Yeah,
they were winning. I think they won like 8 league titles in from 2000 to 2011. So
consistently in Europe,
and they were a force as well. They were knocking out Real Madrid and that sort of lot in the Champions League. So they were a good team.
And we should say Juninho. I'm not going to attempt his last name, but Juninho, as we all knew.
Come on, I done it with the PSG guy. Come on.
No, I'm not doing it.
No, you must. I got grief. No, do it. I'm not stopping now.
What PSG guy, Matt? Who's that?
That one.
He's getting better. He's getting better.
Oh, he's getting further away, man.
Come on, you must say it.
Juninho will go down as one of the most underrated players ever. 100 goals in 8 seasons for Lyon for a midfielder. Wow. That's mental.
And the kind of free kicks he scored as well. Like from the angles he was doing it, it's just like.
And back in that day when midfielders didn't score loads of goals as well.
You just know that Dimitri Payet had Juninho on his wall and used to hit free kicks around the French rural areas, going Juninho. I'll tell you now. But anyway, what it gets to is Lyon going down could potentially be good news for Crystal Palace. Obviously, they share the same major shareholder, John Textor, who has agreed to sell his stake in Palace, by the way, to Woody Johnson, the owner of the New York Jets. But he does obviously this interest in Lyon as well. So there's issues with the multi-club ownership rules. We spoke about it before, so we won't go into why that rule's complete crap again. But basically the situation is Lyon are appealing their relegation, but if they do not win their appeal and are relegated, they've agreed that they won't be part of the European competition, meaning Crystal Palace will be. It's just a bit messy, isn't it?
It's not a way Palace would have imagined getting back into Europe. I can't.
Well, I mean, they did win the FA Cup. That's how they did it. Give them credit for that one.
No. But what I mean is like all this faff trying to actually compete.
Just rolling on. Yeah.
Really
out of their control. Out of their control as well.
Exactly.
It's also odd because you think about. I mean, look, if Lyon do go down, if it is confirmed they go down, do you not think they want the money from the Europa League? Is it just me? Do they not need that money? Like the whole thing's a bit bonkers.
I think there's going to be a payout somewhere. There's been a payout to say, you can't be in this competition
or flash sale before that. Most of their players, they've got value. Probably.
Didn't PSG pay out the transfer fee for one of their players early so that they could help them out?
Yeah, that's very nice.
Like 45 million. Yeah.
Could you imagine that?
I wouldn't mind having 45 million if you're happy to throw out money anywhere and throw it early out, just throw it my way. Like I've got.
Here's my dick and IBAN, and just pop it in. Yeah.
Let's be fair. It might
not add up to 45 million, but you can like.
the Premier League version of that is Arsenal suddenly have major financial issues, right? And Man City bail them out on a transfer thing. That just wouldn't happen. It would not happen. So it's fair play to PSG for that. It's also a massive power move that from PSG, isn't it? Against one of their biggest rivals over the last 25 years. We got you. Don't worry, little fella.
There you go. Little pat on the head. There you go.
Little fella. Yeah, you do get that vibe from it. Yeah, that is for sure. I think though, do you think that if Palace Palace do get that place in Europe, that it will affect Eze's decision whether to stay or not?
No.
You don't think?
No, and here's the reason. We've spoken before about teams need to be European competitions for a number of seasons. Palace, look, I could be wrong, but are very unlikely to be that, right? And Eze has to think about his career. What does he want to do? Play the Champions League for the next 3 seasons, or play the Europa League with Palace for one season?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Arsenal or Spurs are going to be in that conversation for consistent European spots. Usually, sorry, Ange fans, but that didn't happen this time. But usually, anyway. So, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It is the most typical transfer in English football, isn't it? A player does well for a mid-table team who do well, and the big boys come knocking. I just hope Palace. I'll be honest. Whoever inserted a £67 million release clause in Eze's contract is going to get daggers from that Palace board right now, because the truth is they could probably sell him for closer to £90 million, I think, this summer without that release clause. If you think Grealish went to City for 100 million, Eze ain't far off that.
Yeah. Did City not pay over the odds for Grealish?
Sure, everyone does that.
But I mean, do you know what I mean?
Like we paid over the odds for Calcedo.
Yeah, I know, like with the bloated market and everything, but that even at the time I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
isn't it amazing? Sorry, I was
on.
trying to say, isn't it amazing now? Arsenal and Daniel Levy's Tottenham, two of the teams that historically have been penny pinchers and will not spend any money, are the two teams that are like, oh, he's only on that much. That's way less than we thought because of a release clause. Yep, bring him in, bring him in.
The thing that you obviously the smaller clubs in the Premier League must expect this, and obviously teams around Europe as well that have those random really amazing seasons. But it's a bit like when Leicester won the league, straight away they must have been thinking when the season ended, we have to try and keep hold of these big players we've got. We've got to do everything we can. But the players do go. Like they want to play for the big teams. Of course they're going to go. Yeah. And it's a bit like with Lyon. The moment this has happened, everyone is raiding them for these players now. Like because they're going to let them go cheap because they need the money. Let's just take them. Yeah.
I actually disagree with what you said there about with Leicester, that they should have been like, we want to keep our players. I think that's the wrong business model. We've all. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I know Stu has. I don't know about you two. But look, anybody who's played Football Manager will speak to this. When you are a Palace right now, your job is to bring players in that you can sell for double the price to make more money, to make yourself a better squad, so that in 10 years' time you're at the top. So
Leicester did well because they sold Mahrez to City, they sold Kante to Chelsea, and they kept Vardy, who was their best player. So they actually they did pretty well out of that summer following the league win.
That summer they did all right. They actually were okay afterwards, because I think the biggest player they did get rid of, like you say, is Kante.
They just didn't invest it very well, and there's a lot of going to that. I mean, we spoke last week about Bournemouth and Brighton, who are the best at the moment at this. They're bringing players in. I mean, Joao Pedro's got on his way to Stamford Bridge. Apparently, we haven't spoke about this, but Joao Pedro on his way to Stamford Bridge for a stupid amount of money for what he's worth, and it's brilliant business from Brighton once again.
Can someone explain to me why there's all this hype all over Sky Sports saying, like how good of a player he is? Watch his best goals. He is bang average at best. He's
how many goals he scored last season? It wasn't a lot, was it? It was like less than 10.
If I look now and there's 20 goals, I will be very embarrassed.
If he's starting over Delap, that'll be a major error for me. I think Delap needs to be a starting striker. But on what we're saying on Brighton, right? Yeah, I mean, Brighton and Chelsea in particular. Someone at Brighton has got some very candid photos of Todd Bowley doing something he shouldn't. I tell you that. That's the only explanation for what they get from Chelsea.
Well, they're raiding. What was it? Was it Chelsea raiding Brighton like Liverpool used to raid? Was it Southampton? They were cherry picked that player. I mean, how much is was it Chelsea? Was it Brighton got from Chelsea for last
Well, but you got to think. You got Calcedo, he went for 116. You got Mark Cucurella, he went for like 60, something like that. Colwill, or was he on loan? I can't remember.
Colwill was on loan. I think Colwill
was on loan. Okay. And then if we signed Pedro, you're talking like
You're funding a
over
new
200
stadium.
million. Huh?
doing your bit for the Premier League, just helping the other clubs out.
Exactly. Help the small teams. Help the small
There you
teams.
go.
I mean,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
jokes aside, if Brighton continue the way they're going with the progression, as in the way that they use the money when it comes in and sign the right players, they will be challenging for Europe top 4 within 5 years. That's the way it's supposed to work. Whether it will, I don't know. I say they will.
And
I hope they
Spurs
will.
be the one that drop off.
Yeah, or they
Well,
could end up like Southampton. Southampton were continually able to sell their players, but then reinvest and kind of in
I just
better players, have
don't
their
think
youth
they.
academy, and then just get relegated a couple of seasons later. And they just can't hold up
Yeah.
anymore.
Look, there's a
They-
very fine line, but the best do
Yeah.
it. The best get there.
Yeah, of
As I
course.
say, any football manager player
I-
knows when you've taken a team from League Two, there is a certain point that you get when you're in the Championship where you go, I'm just going to go and have a little wander up to the Brazilian under-19 team and just see what's sitting in here. Oh, that one. Yep, 700k. Oh, sold in for 40 million 2 years later. That's what Brighton are doing. So
Yeah,
Good way to go.
yeah, no, fair point. Then I wonder how they must promote it to the clubs. Look, come to Brighton, live on the seaside for a year, and then you could be playing for in the Champions League for some other random team.
Yeah.
It must be.
That's like a tourist advert, like sitting there, like with the cameras and the big, like saying, "This is Brighton," and then telling them how
So
amazing
what
it
you're
is.
saying, Stu, is that they're like Jet2 holidays, and then you go up and you're like now at British Airways.
I do like the idea that they take a young player into contract talks and they go, so have you watched much English football? Who would you support? And they go, oh, I'm a Chelsea fan. They go, right, get that bitch boy Bowley on the phone. We've got another one here. We've got another one right here.
Oh, wait, remember the photos?
Yeah. Oh god.
But yeah, right. I think we'll call it there. We're an hour and 15 minutes in. We went a little over again. We've got some things we want to talk about over the next few weeks to try and fill this summer as well. We're coming up with ideas we want to talk about. But if there's any debate you want us to debate, let us know down below on YouTube, on every. We're on TikTok now, everyone. By the way, David mentioned it earlier. We're on TikTok, and the hate is great. We love it. Bring it on. It's fine. It's fine.
I think the biggest debate, and Stu we will discuss it at some point. Has Jack Grealish had a better career than Steven Gerrard? Yes.
As Matt Downey likes to say, fact.
Fact.
I think
Not
that's on
opinion,
3-week mini
fact.
series. Yeah.
I feel this needs to be an episode, and I have to put the debate to rest. It needs to be done. So I think that's an episode right there.
I'm also feeling, by the way, and keep this in mind, guys, unpopular footballing opinions part 2.
Yeah.
Part 1 was so successful.
Are you sure?
Could you
about
handle
this,
that,
Kyle?
Carl? Could you
Are you
handle
sure
it?
about this?
Hey,
Well,
listen,
I'm
if we're on
podcast.
TikTok now, we need to expose him.
Yeah, but
We're not...
Okay, all right.
Run it back.
well, last time we did that, we didn't see for 2-3 weeks because that opinion destroyed you. You didn't come back.
I mean,
So
I never thought that you could get mental injuries. Like, obviously something happened at that day, didn't it? It's just like, oh no, that was it.
2 words, Matt Downey. 2 words. All right.
Here's another 2 words: quiz night.
Yeah, we got another quiz night in the
Yes.
running. That'd be good.
Another
Revenge
thing that
needs
makes
to be
Kyle
had.
disappear for weeks on end. Yeah.
Look, the timing is suspicious, but I swear it wasn't. But yeah, revenge needs to be had. But if there's anything else you guys want us to talk about, discuss, etc., please do let us know. We'll have some arguments. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Hate on us on Twitter, on TikTok, even not on Twitter. We're not even going on that.
no.
We can't. We can't deal with that. We can't deal with that. But yeah, let us know, and that's it. Everyone say goodbye to the TikTok haters, or hello.
See you later, everyone. Take care.